Hey y'all, welcome back to the Skookum Report. I'm Bob, and before we get started, I wanted to tell y'all, I saw this documentary last night called Knievel's Quest for Bigfoot. It was pretty good. I don't know what platform you can find it on. I think I watched it on Amazon Prime, but it might be on YouTube. He goes around and it's Robbie Knievel, Evil Knievel's son. That's pretty cool. It had Bobo Fay there towards the end helping him out and answering a lot of questions. They went to Willow Creek and Bigfoot books and all, and I know y'all are familiar with all of them characters, and it was pretty cool. He asked a lot of questions normal people would ask, you know. You just dug around and went and hung out and checked out things. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half, something like that, but it was pretty good. This one today is called the Skinwalker Legend. The Sasquatch is not a skinwalker, it says in parentheses. Is the Navajo skinwalker the same as the white man's werewolf? Yes, if the Navajo witch wears the skin of a wolf. But Navajo witches can mimic any animal they choose, not just the wolf. They can be a cat, a coyote, a dog, a bear, whatever the Navajo witch wants to be. The Navajo witches pick their skins for the type of job they plan to do. The coyote skin is for high speed, accurate sense of smell, and acute agility. The bear skin is for brute strength. However, the bear is not as fast as the coyote. Along with their new abilities, the Navajo skinwalkers still retain their full mental capacities. If the Navajo witch is a fairly or highly intelligent person, when he or she changes into a skinwalker, they carry that intelligence with them, and you have a bag of a very dangerous opponent. Unlike the Wolfman, the Skinwalker used their whole bag of tricks. They used mind control, disease, immobilization powder. Hadn't heard that before. Now, the Navajo Skinwalker and Related Phenomena by Joanne Teller. You can find it through Infinity Horn Productions, I think it says, something like that. But all her life, Frances T has seen things and heard things. We're going to get into the story here. This is really good. Check this out. All her life, Frances T has seen things, heard things, and felt them. Born into a family of sensitives, this was rather normal. In my family, you were considered odd if you didn't experience abnormal things, Frances says. We never talked much about our experiences or our feelings about them. We just accepted them as normal, which in fact, to us they are. But nothing could have prepared her family for what they encountered on a dark, desolate road in Arizona 20 years ago. It's a mysterious and traumatizing event that haunts them to this day. Frances's family had moved from Wyoming to Flagstaff, Arizona in 1978, shortly after her high school graduation, sometime between 1982 and 1983. 20-year-old Frances, her father, mother, and her younger brother took a road trip back to Wyoming in the family pickup truck. The trip was a vacation to visit with friends in and around their old hometown. The only member of the family not present was her older brother. He was in the Army and he was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. The course along Route I-63 took them through the Navajo Indian Reservation and through the town of Kayenta, just south of the Utah border, and the magnificent Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park. Anyone who has lived in Arizona for any length of time knows that the Indian Reservation can be a beautiful, if harsh, place for non-natives. Many strange things happen out there, Frances says. Even my friend, a Navajo, warned us of traveling through the reservations, especially at night. Along with the warning, however, Frances's Native American friend blessed the family and they were on their way. The trip to Wyoming was uneventful, but the trip back to Arizona along the same route more than justified the warning from Frances's friend. It still gives me goosebumps, she says. To this day, I have major anxiety attacks when I have to travel through the North Country at night. I avoid it at all costs. It was a warm summer night. It was about 10 o'clock p.m. when the family's pickup was heading south on I-63, about 20 to 30 miles from the town of Kayenta. It was a moonless night, and on this lonely stretch of road, so pitch black that they could only see just a few feet beyond the headlights, so dark that closing their eyes actually brought relief from the fathomless black. They had been driving for hours, excuse me, with Francis's father at the wheel, and the vehicle's passengers had long ago settled into quiet. Frances and her father sandwiched her mother in the truck's cab, while her brother enjoyed the night air in the back of the pickup. Suddenly, Francis's father broke the silence and said, "We have company." Frances and her mother turned around and looked out the back slider window. Sure enough, a pair of headlights appeared over the crest of a hill, then disappeared as the car went down, and then reappeared. Frances commented to her father that it was nice to have company on this stretch of road. If something went wrong, neither vehicle and its passengers would be alone. Thunder began to rumble from the vast clouded sky. The parents decided that their son should come into the cab before he got soaking wet from any rain that might fall. Frances opened the slider window and her little brother crawled in, squeezing between her and her mother. Frances turned to close the window and again noticed the headlights from the following car. "They're still behind us," her father said. "They must be going to either Flagstaff or Phoenix. We'll probably meet them in Kayenta when we stop to fuel up." Frances watched as the car's headlights crested the other hill and began its descent until it disappeared. She watched for them to reappear and watched. They didn't reappear. She told her father that the car should have crested the other hill again, but hadn't. Maybe they slowed down, he suggested, or pulled over. That was possible, but it just didn't make sense to Frances. Why in the hell would a driver slow down, or worse yet, stop at the bottom of a hill in the middle of the night with nothing around for miles and miles? Frances asked her father. You'd think they'd want to keep sight of the car in front of them just in case anything happened. But people do weird stuff when they're driving, her father replied, so Frances kept watching, turning around every few minutes to check for those headlights. But they never did reappear. And when she turned to look one last moment, she noticed that the pickup was slowing down. Turning back to look out the windshield, she saw that they were rounding a sharp bend in the road, and her father had slowed the truck down to about 55, and from that moment, time itself seemed to slow down for Frances. The atmosphere changed somehow, taking on another worldly quality. Frances turned her head to look out the passenger window when her mother screamed and her father cried out, "Jesus, what the hell is that?" Frances didn't know what was happening, but one hand instinctively reached over and held down the button for the door lock, and the other tightly grabbed the door handle. She braced her back against her small brother and held firmly onto the door, still not knowing quite why. Her brother was now yelling, "What is it? What is it?" Her father immediately flipped on the interior cab light, and Frances could see that he was petrified. "I have never, ever seen my father that scared in his whole life," Frances says. "Not even when he came home from his tours in Vietnam. When he came home from special assignments, and not even when someone tried to firebomb the house." Frances's father was as white as a ghost. She could see the hair on the back of his neck standing straight out like a cat's, and so was the hair on his arms. She could even see the goosebumps on his skin. Panic was filling the small cab. Frances's mother was so frightened that she began shouting in her native Japanese in a high squeaky voice as she frantically wrung her hands. The little boy just kept saying, "Oh my God." As the pickup sped around the bend in the road, Frances could see that the shoulder dropped off deeply into the ditch. Her father slammed on the brakes to prevent the truck from swerving off into the ditch, and as the pickup was slowing to a stop, something leapt out of the ditch at the side of the truck, and now Frances could clearly see what had started the panic. It was black and hairy, and was eye level with the passengers in the cab. If this was a man, it was like no man Frances had ever seen. Yet despite its monstrous appearance, whatever this thing was, it wore a man's clothes. It had on a white and blue checkered shirt and long pants. I think jeans, Frances testifies. Its arms were raised over its head, almost touching the top of the cab. This creature remained there for a few seconds looking into the pickup. and then the pickup was past it. Frances could not believe what she had seen. It looked like a hairy man or a hairy animal in man's clothing, she said. But it didn't look like an ape or anything like that. Its eyes were yellow and its mouth was wide open. Although time seemed frozen and distorted, in this moment of fantastic horror, it was all over within a few minutes. The headlights, her little brother coming into the cab, and the thing. By the time the family reached Kayenta for gas, they had finally calmed down. Frances and her father climbed out of the pickup and checked the side of the truck to see if the creature had done any damage. They were surprised to see that the dust on the side of the truck was undisturbed, and so the dust was on the hood and the roof of the truck. It was all undisturbed. In fact, they found nothing out of the ordinary, no blood, no hair, nothing. The family stretched their legs and rested at Kayenta for about 20 minutes. The car had been following them, the car that had been following them never did show up. It's as if the car simply vanished. They drove home from Flagstaff with the cab light on and the doors securely locked. I wish I could say that was the end of the story, Frances says, but it's not. A few nights later, around 11 p.m., Frances and her brother were awakened by the sounds of drumming. They looked out his bedroom window into the backyard, which was surrounded by a fence. At first they saw nothing but the forest beyond the fence. Then the drumming grew louder, and 3 or 4 men appeared behind the wooden fence. It looked like they were trying to climb the fence, but couldn't quite manage to bring their legs up high enough to swing over, Frances said. Unable to get into the yard, the men began to chant. Frances was so scared she slept with her little brother all that night. Sometime later, Frances sought out her Navajo friend, hoping she could offer some kind of explanation for these strange incidents. She told Frances that it was a skinwalker that had tried to attack her family. Skinwalkers are creatures of Navajo legends, witches that can shapeshift into animals. That a skinwalker attacked them was quite unusual, Frances's friend told her, as it had been a long time since she has heard of any activity about skinwalkers, and they normally don't bother non-natives. Frances took her friend back by the fence where she had seen the strange men trying to climb in. The Navajo woman considered the scene for a moment, then revealed that 3 or 4 skinwalkers had visited the house. She said they wanted the family, but could not gain access because something was protecting the family. Frances was astonished. Why, she asked, why would the skinwalkers want my family? Your family has a lot of power, the Navajo woman said, and that they wanted it. Again, she said that the skinwalkers usually don't bother non-natives, but she believed that they wanted the family enough to expose themselves, and later that day she blessed the perimeter of the property, the house and the vehicles and the family. We haven't been bothered by skinwalkers since then, Frances said, and then again I haven't been back to Kayenta. I have gone through other towns on the reservation, yes, at night, but I'm not alone. I carry a weapon, and I carry protective amulets. Phew, well, I'd be carrying a Bible with me, if that was me. That was a pretty intense story. I've heard a lot about skinwalkers. There's some pretty good documentaries on the legend of skinwalkers and that whole show, documentary about Skinwalker, Legend of Skinwalker Ranch, and what actually is going on there. God only knows. It's underneath the ground. There's some kind of magnetic field. It's all weird to me, but I haven't really gotten that much into that. I just like reading the Bigfoot encounters, but this was pretty close to a Bigfoot encounter, but it was something new. I thought I read it. It was very interesting. I wanted to share with y'all. But if any of you have had a Bigfoot encounter or a Bigfoot sighting and you want to have it on the show here, just put it down in an email and shoot it off to me at skookumreport@gmail.com. That's skookumreport@gmail.com. And I'll make sure I read it on the show. And I want to send a shout out to Big Mike and Bigfoot World Radio. Definitely thank you for the thumbs up, man. everybody that's been waiting for me to get back and been giving me good blessings and prayers, and I appreciate y'all. Just been in and out with the health, dealing with some health issues, but I want to keep this going. I love doing the Skookum report for you guys, and I enjoy all the good feedback that I get. You guys make it all worthwhile. So let's see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment and tell me what y'all think. I enjoy talking with you guys. So until next time, this is Bob and Skookum Report, and I'm out. Bye-bye.